有点良知啊！这个每一个人都不容易。看到吗？在前面看见了，我相信这边的应该很多。
我操，这工程做的豆腐渣工程，我操，还有旺仔饼干。
They were built to stand tall for generations, symbols of China's unstoppable rise, monuments of glass and concrete that promise strength and prosperity. Yet today, ceilings crash down while families sleep, walls split open before the paint has even dried. Shiny new towers are abandoned before anyone ever calls them home. What happened to China's great skyline dream? It's crumbling, literally from within. For decades, the world marveled at China's urban miracle. Dusty towns were reborn as megacities almost overnight. Skyscrapers pierced the clouds in Shenzhen, Chongqing, and countless smaller hubs. The construction boom became the beating heart of China's economy, powered by state-backed loans, SA's speculative fever, and the belief that owning an apartment was the surest path to security. Cranes multiplied, concrete poured day and night, and millions of families placed their savings and their hopes into towers that didn't even exist yet. But behind the glittering glass facades was a darker truth. Many of these homes were never built to last. Quality was sacrificed for speed, safety for profit. Bribery and corner cutting infected every layer of the system. In countless projects, scrap metal replaced steel, concrete was watered down, and cracks were covered with a quick coat of plaster. Outwardly strong, but fragile as tofu on the inside. That's why people started calling them tofu-dreg projects. This is no longer just a story of unfinished ghost cities. It's something far worse. Brand new homes rotting before their time. And with every video surfacing online, every viral clip of a collapsing ceiling or slanted balcony, the fear spreads. These towers are not relics of the past. They are modern, freshly built, and already falling apart. In Hennan's Xingyun Garden, residents filmed deep cracks slicing down the walls just 18 months after moving in. A single heavy rain caused the ceiling to collapse, flooding bedrooms and revealing rusting rebar. The building had supposedly passed inspection. In Changsha, a brand new block was evacuated when residents heard groaning noises in the stairwell. Engineers later confirmed the foundation had shifted, moving the entire tower centimeters off balance. Families fled before they had even unpacked. And then there are the ghost towers, monuments to corruption, standing empty and hollow. In Hebei, a 22-story building, funded by the government, looks flawless from the outside, yet inside it's a ruin. Stairwells black with mold, shattered windows, and piles of construction debris. In Bayan Nur, Inner Mongolia, a brand new residential tower split open with a giant crack across its facade in early 2020. The government rushed in cranes, sealed off the site, and demolished the building quietly at night, never explaining why. China's housing crisis is no longer about financial losses or empty apartments. It's about physical safety, collapsing homes, and the terrifying realization that the dream of prosperity has been built on foundations that may not hold. What's unfolding across China is a chilling pattern of decay. Towers are thrown up in record time, safety checks skipped, and shortcuts taken at every stage. Developers, eager for profits/costs, local officials, often with money tied up in the projects themselves, look the other way. When cracks appear, the truth is buried faster than it spreads. In many cities, residents whisper about defects but dare not speak too loudly. In Yuyao, Zhejiang, entire floors of new apartments sit empty because buyers refuse to move in. Rumors of instability spread online quicker than the government can deny them. On Weibo and Douyin, shaky videos of walls crumbling, elevators dead on arrival, and water gushing from ceilings go viral, only to vanish hours later under censorship. Whistleblowers who sound the alarm are not celebrated, but detained for rumor mongering. Meanwhile, local governments remain frozen. They can't afford to expose these scandals because one admission could set off panic in housing markets already collapsing. Many of these faulty towers were part of state-backed projects meant to showcase urban progress or lift people out of poverty. To admit they are unsafe would also expose the corruption, greed, and systemic failure behind them. And so the official line is recycled excuses, isolated cases, extreme weather, or design flaws. But reality tells a harsher story. Tower by tower, crack by crack, the truth is breaking through. Censorship may silence voices, but it cannot stop concrete from splitting. The wave of failures is not random. It is the product of three intertwined forces creating a storm of collapse. First, profit over people. For decades, real estate in China has been a gold rush. Developers who once rose to billionaire status had every reason to build faster and cheaper. They watered down concrete, cut back on steel, skipped waterproofing, and wrapped the flaws in shiny exteriors. A project meant to take 3 years was rushed in half the time, not for safety, but for pre-sales. Homebuyers, terrified of missing out, paid deposits before the ground was even broken. Once the money flowed in, developers had little incentive to ensure the buildings could stand the test of time. The result? Towers that look grand on the surface but rot within. Second, corruption at the core. Local governments, desperate for growth, were not just regulators, but partners in construction. Officials approved projects in exchange for bribes, inflated land sales, and future tax revenue. Inspectors rubber-stamped safety reports without inspections. Complaints from residents disappeared into bureaucratic voids. When towers cracked or collapsed, official reports shifted blame to rainstorms, faulty blueprints, or unforeseen conditions. A 2022 probe in Sichuan uncovered that nearly one-third of new residential buildings had never undergone full structural checks, proof of how bribery and GDP targets poisoned the system. Together, greed and corruption created an environment where speed mattered more than safety, appearances mattered more than truth, and lives were gambled away for numbers on a growth chart. China's collapsing towers are not accidents. They are monuments to a broken system, where concrete crumbles, but the cover-ups remain strong. At the heart of China's housing disaster lies a problem no one can ignore. Too many homes, not enough people. For years, entire cities of concrete and glass were built in advance of demand, vast ghost metropolises waiting for buyers who never came. Now the bubble has burst. Developers, desperate to show progress, abandon half-built projects or rush just enough to stage ribbon cuttings and glossy photos for officials. These towers were never meant for families, only for statistics. But demographics have turned against them. An aging, shrinking population and a job market that leaves young graduates hopeless mean fewer and fewer buyers. To stay afloat, builders cut corners deeper than ever. Thinner walls, weaker steel, skipped waterproofing, zero maintenance after completion. Elevators sit dead, water pipes corrode, lights never switch on. And because many of these units were sold wholesale to speculators instead of families, no one is living there to complain. What we see now is not just neglect. It's the slow death of a system that valued appearances over durability, speed over safety. The so-called tofu towers are not anomalies. They are the inevitable scars of a real estate empire built on illusions. The concrete failures are only half the story. The deeper collapse is psychological. For millions of ordinary Chinese, buying an apartment was the dream of stability, the ultimate investment of a lifetime. Parents emptied savings, couples signed on for decades of crushing mortgages, migrant workers sent wages back home, all for a single chance at homeownership. That dream is now cracking, sometimes literally above their heads. In Xi'an, a family discovered their ceiling patched with cardboard disguised as plaster. In Chongqing, an entire tower was evacuated when residents heard ominous groans in the stairwell, only for officials to shrug it off as normal settling. People who thought they had secured safety now sleep in fear of ceilings falling, pipes bursting, or stairwells collapsing. But fear quickly turns to frustration when residents seek justice. Courts dismiss complaints. Developers vanish behind shell companies. Local officials dodge responsibility. Online posts exposing shoddy construction disappear within hours. Even neighbors organizing together risk harassment or police surveillance. For many elderly homeowners and low-income families trapped in subsidized housing, there's no escape. Their dream home has become a cage. The fallout is spreading far beyond individual households. Real estate once powered nearly one-third of China's economy. Now, with towers sitting empty and projects decaying before occupancy, confidence has collapsed. Young people choose to rent, delay marriage, or leave the country altogether. Banks choke on bad loans. Local governments bleed revenue from stalled land sales. Whole neighborhoods turn into wastelands. Markets shutter, sidewalks crack, playgrounds stand beside half-collapsed facades. And beneath it all, trust is evaporating. When people realize their homes are unsafe and their complaints ignored, faith in government, banks, and media dissolves. Cynicism spreads like mold in damp stairwells. Every crack in a wall feels like a crack in the system itself. The anger is no longer silent. In Shandong, crowds marched on local housing bureaus, demanding refunds. In Guangdong, banners hung from unfinished towers reading, "We want homes, not ruins." These are not isolated protests. They are tremors of a wider backlash. But instead of addressing the rot, authorities double down on censorship, silencing whistleblowers, deleting videos, and insisting everything is under control. Yet the ground is not stable, literally or politically. Each collapsing building is more than a structural failure. It's a symbol of broken promises, shattered futures, and a society losing its foundation brick by brick.